item 3C, which is related to the Measure V update. If we can get a staff report, please.
Good evening, Council. Felicia Glenda, Budget Officer. Tonight's presentation is from our Measure V Residents Oversight Committee. We have our committee member, Mr. Gerald Jeffs, who is going to present for the committee. We'd like to thank him for his participation.
Mayor Dan, City Council members, thanks a lot. You guys put me on this thing. This is an opportunity to baseline not just you, but our community on Measure V. I know there's nothing in this presentation this evening that you guys don't already know, but there may be a lot of people who either watch this or see the presentation. It might inform them in some ways. We get to see you once a year, so we're baselining it. We're going to go through a lot of different things. So next slide, and I'll get you through quickly because it's past my bedtime. History, quick history, 2016, this got approved. 2017, started generating revenue, and a lot of different things happened along the route. And this year ended up with the Aquatic Center going from phase 1 design into the detailed design. You guys have all seen the details, you know, the 40 million associated in 2020, you know the history. Next slide. Here's the members of the committee. You know, we've got Rosario as the committee chair, Payo, vice chair, Glenn, committee member, Mohammed, and myself. 3 of the committee members are going to sunset, retire next February. So they're going to be on the committee for one more committee meeting, probably in October, November, maybe, whenever it is. And after that, you're going to have to find three replacements for them, or they redo it again. Just so you guys all know, that'll leave Mohammed and myself as the older committee members, and you'll never see me as a chair of any committee. That's just not something I want to do. The rules that we play by, and I'm a firm believer, and you tell me the rules, and that's the way I'll play the game. We're advisory only to the City Council. We have oversight on only the Measure V revenues and expenses. We review the annual audit. That's expected to come out somewhere early December, probably. And we review the city Measure V financials. So I've got a lot of documentations. You guys put me on here, and I immediately started getting grounded in all of that information. Next slide. You guys aren't the only stakeholders of this. You know, I know we're advisory to you, and we work with the city, but it's really for the residents of Tracy that we do this committee, this job, and it's for the businesses in Tracy and the businesses because they're collecting that sales tax. So they have a stake in this. Everybody in the city of Tracy has a stake in this. So again, this presentation isn't just for you, it's for everybody. Next slide. Baselining everybody again. The independent audit, when I first heard that we were going to review the independent audit of Measure V, I thought there was this big audit document. I was going to get all this stuff. I went through every independent audit from 2016 up through 2024, and that paragraph that you see there is it. It hasn't significantly changed since 2017, the first time an audit on this was done. The amount of the Measure V collected from the previous year, of course, changes in every one of them. And the text, there was some minor tweaks to the language. My feeling is as long as the PUN group validates that Tracy's finance department is following GAAP, generally accepted accounting principles, then I'm going to trust anything that the Tracy Finance Department gives me. Now, if these guys found, and they do, in every report I found that they validate that Tracy's Finance is doing exactly what Tracy Finance is supposed to do. If they didn't say that, then maybe it'd be a different conversation, but it's not. So This independent audit, it's not a big thing. It's a simple statement. That's it. 5-minute job reviewing the audit. Next slide. High level, the main things we've got on here is Legacy Field, Multi-Gen, Aquatic, Nature Park, Ritter Family, and the Senior Center. You're looking at about a $34 million impact to Legacy by the end of 2037, and we're going to go through each of these a little bit more detailed. You're looking at $63 million for Multi-Gen, 76 for the Aquatic Center as it stands today. The Nature Park, that just switched to an $8 million ticket in our last meeting. The Ritter Park, $3 million maybe, who knows? And the Senior Center, that was just under $1 million. Okay, next slide. All right, we're going to go into these in a little bit more detail. Senior Center, 950 was asked for, approved, 950 was spent, fixed price, whatever other money, I have no idea. At this point, there is no expected operating income out of Measure V to be assigned. Next one. Legacy Fields, a lot of different components to that, from the 3.7, 6.4, the land purchase. The big one, though, is that 1.6 million over 15 years on the revenue bond. That should be, come out to 24 at the end. So we know that. The question is going to be, and we're going to talk about it in a little bit more detail when we get to the maintenance and operating budget, how much of that 40 million supports Legacy Field? And I'm kind of assuming right now either all of it does or none of it does. It's not coming from Measure V in any other place, though, so that much I know at this point. Next slide. The Multi-Gen, you got $4 million initially for design. As of to date, only $1 million's been spent. Whether more bills are coming in or not, I don't know, but we'll let you know if that as it changes. You've got a 30-year lease or lease revenue bond at $3.1 million a year for the next 12 years, because that takes you up really to the end of Measure V. I didn't draw the line so good, but it doesn't really matter. So that's $37 million right there on that revenue lease, and it's going to extend for 18 years past the end of Measure V. So we'll talk about that later on also. Operating budget is expected to be between 1.5, 2.4 over the next 11 years, so 22 million in an operating budget, which at this point we're assuming is on top of the 40 million one. We'll get to that. Next slide. The Aquatic Center. Design phase, 5.7 million, 1.4 has been spent to date. You've got 55 million allocated from Measure V, so that leaves us 49.3 million for the base priorities, the competition pool, the rec pool, and whatever supporting facilities and infrastructure that's needed. The estimated annual operating budget for this is going to be somewhere around 2.3 over the next 9 years for 21 million. By year 5, they're expecting that operating budget to be about 2.7 million. And there is going to be some revenue offset. Nobody knows what that revenue offset's going to be yet. Nobody's firmed up on the admission prices and all that kind of stuff. Where does that money go? Does it go back into the Measure V kind of pool of money, or does it just go into the general fund? I don't see any information telling me anything anywhere about that at this point in time. I think it's a little too early in the game. So when we add the lazy river, the water slides, the toddler area, and all the other kind of cool stuff that has been talked about, that's not a part of Measure V as of today, and everything we add additional is going to increase the annual maintenance and operating fee. That's what we know. That's what I know today. Next slide. Nature Park, 8 million, supposed to start somewhere in 2026. Design, build, somewhere by the middle of 2027. No operating budget has been associated with that to date. So, and originally $1 million was approved, but I think that was just really for the design and understanding of the nature park. Next slide. The Ritter Family Park, good luck with this one. $3 million has been committed, and that's really to figure out what to do with the Ritter Family Park. So if something is decided to be done, that $3 million is probably going to go up to whatever that's TBD. As of right now, nobody's really having any solid conversations around the Ritter Family Park. Next slide. Operations and maintenance. So 40 million committed, 2.4 over 17 years, which brings it up to the 2037 end of Measure V. 3.6 million has been spent to date. You're looking at a 2 million, 1.5 to 2.4, or over 11 years is what's in the budget now for operating and maintenance of the rec center. That's out of Measure V. So that's 22 million, somewhere around 22 million. By the end of this thing. Legacy fields, no Measure V funds are assigned, 2.3 over 9 years, about 21 million for the aquatic center, nothing for Ritter or the nature park at this point in time. Go back to that slide though first. I just want to make sure clear, 40 million supports, I'm not sure how the 40 million supports the individual projects, but we've got to assume at this point in time, the total maintenance and operating out of Measure V is going to be about 83 million at 2037. Okay? Next slide. This is not a course in project management. I wish it was. There's a lot of reasons why when people like me sit on these committees and we're looking at specific projects, I'm going to ask different questions, but I put myself in the mindset of only stick to what impacts Measure V. If we were having project-based conversations, it would be a lot different. So it really matters on how Measure V, is being used in a specific project, what phase of the project it is. So if cost controls impact the amount that's spent on Measure V, I'm going to care about it. For the most part, everything seems to be a fixed committed amount. So maybe the amount's 10 million and we commit 5 million for Measure V, guarantee you 5 million is coming out of it. Just like with the senior center, we committed 950, 950 came out of it. Did it cost 1.2? Did it cost 2 million? I don't know. All I know is no more than 950 came out of Measure V. I think it was 948 or something, right? When I asked the question on the cost of money, because on the multi-gen, we signed a 30-year bond or an 18-year bond, whatever, how many years it was, right? My assumption is if we spend less on the multi-gen center, on the cost of the multi-gen center, then maybe that amount that we pay for the cost of the money is less. But that seems, and you guys could explain it sometime, that seems to be a fixed cost also. My concern when I look at Tracy projects is everything gets hit with about a 10% contingency. Been doing projects my entire career. Things much bigger than that, and nobody's ever given me a 10% contingency on anything. Anytime anything changes, I'm going back for money. I'm going back with justification, getting approvals, and asking for money. Maybe Tracy is no different than any other city. I don't work with a lot of cities, right? Maybe every city just puts that buffer there and great, we got that buffer. I'd like to know how much of that buffer we spent, and I want to know how much we can save in Measure V funds. But we're not having a project-specific conversation, so I limit mine to, if it's not impacting Measure V, I'm good with it, as long as I know. All right, next slide. Here's where we're at. This year, we're expecting revenues to come in at about 12 million. It's going to be finalized probably within the next month or so. That number, it might be 12.2, it might be 11.8, who knows? We're still waiting for the last of the money to come in. With that, we're estimating right now a total revenue for Measure V at a little bit under 250 at the end of this thing in 2037. Right now, we're at about 94 million of that being achieved. So we're expecting 12.8, really, I just flatlined it out from here to the end of this. If we come in at 12, you can just do the math there and you know how many millions that's going to bring us short. So, next slide. Right now, the slide that you're looking at on your left tells you what the commitments look like on an annual basis and on what they're being associated with. So the slide on the right shows you where your revenue's coming in and where your commitments are at. And right now, we're committed at about 227 million or 92% throughout the end of till April of 2027. Next slide. This shows you the breakdown of where all the money's gone, and it shows you got 8% estimated, 20 million kind of in a not committed number. But, Councilmember Evans, you've done this a lot. My guess is you tell somebody who's got 8% left over the next 12 years, I wouldn't spend a lot more money if I was in your seat. That's my advice, the advisory role, right? My advice is we've spent everything that we expect to get. It just is what it is. Next slide. There is that train coming at us, and this came out of, I believe, the April report that you guys gave the City Council. Want to make sure we're very clear about this. Measure V sunsets in 2037. We're about halfway through that right now. All of you will probably be doing something fun besides what you currently do at that time, so it may not be your problem, but I think the City of Tracy needs to have their eye on this for the next 12 years. Watch those numbers that I went through, and if we start getting underwater, know that for at least 18 years, we're going to have an $10 to $11 million ticket to support the amenities that we've already committed to. If the revenue comes in that we expect to come in, and if the operating costs, which are, variable, they're not fixed operating estimates, we're going to have to do something to offset that. So that's it.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Jeffs.
Thanks.
All right.